Hello, John Talley here with Boats.net. Well, guess what? This season is rapidly approaching. Now, if you did as you were supposed to do and you went through the winterization process, whether it be a two-stroke or a four-stroke, your list of things to check is going to be really small. Now, if you did not, then there's several things that you need to go ahead and do before you plop that boat in the water. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to show you what you need to look for if you've already winterized or if you did not. So let me get these covers off and I'll point out what you need to look for. Now with the covers off, we can take a more in-depth look at both a two-stroke and a four-stroke model. Now believe it or not, it is actually easier to winterize and de-winterize one of the larger four-strokes than it is the two-stroke. Main reason being, this is a fuel-injected engine and this is a carbureted, and typically a carbureted one is a little bit harder to deal with because it is an open system. In other words, the fuel system is open to outside air, and that makes it gum up a lot easier. If you winterized yours correctly, you went through the process to fog the intake on both the two-stroke and the four-stroke, and then drain the fluid out, so there's less of a chance it could gum things up in there. First thing you want to do when you pop the cover, make sure there's no shredded paper in there, because that is a telltale sign that a critter has made a home out of your outboard engine. Now if it looks clean, still check it over to make sure there's no chew marks, particularly on your wiring and on the fuel line. Now if everything looks clean, then you need to just physically check over all your hoses and wires. Make sure nothing's cracked, make sure nothing's loose. Now if your outboard has been winterized properly, you shouldn't have to do anything more than to make sure your fuel's good to go and then start it up. Now keep in mind, when you winterized it or had it winterized, they drained the fuel out of the system. And I'm going to show you where to check that on both the two-stroke and the four-stroke. Now don't get concerned as you turn the engine over if it takes a little bit longer for those systems to reprime and it to fire off. Also, when it does fire, if it blows out a little bit of smoke, that's okay. Because one of the processes you go through when you're winterizing an engine is to actually spray fogging oil inside the combustion area. And when you go to start, well guess what? It's going to burn that off and it's going to come out as smoke. No big deal. Now if your outboard engine was not winterized properly because, well, you forgot to do it, or hey, I was going to take it out one more time, and that one more time never happened and she was put away wet, so to speak. There are several things we need to look at before you try to fire it off for the first time. One of the things I want to show you is actually hidden behind the intake plenum on our four-stroke. So let me get that pulled. First thing we want to point out is your fuel water separator. That is this little guy right here. Now on your unit it may be in a different location, but this is typically what they look like, and it's the first thing that the fuel line is going to go through when it comes in from the tank. Hopefully yours has been drained and there's nothing in there. If that is not the case, you need to unscrew it, dump it out, clean it out, and then put it back together. Your second item is what they call a VST tank. And inside of here, you'll have a couple of different pumps as well as a filter system. If your outboard was winterized properly, you put in a mixture of fuel stabilizer and then brought it into the system by actually running it for a little while. Now once that was completed, you came over here, you removed this little drain bolt, and you drained the VST tank. It should be good to go. Now if that didn't happen, chances are the fuel that's in there is going to be rather rancid, and this thing's going to have a real tough time trying to start with rancid fuel in there. Now hopefully your outboard has not been sitting for more than 2 to 3 months. If that's the case, you're probably going to have to pull this down and then clean it out, and we actually have a video that shows you how to do that on this particular model. Now before you go tearing into it, go ahead and drain it and at least give it a chance to refill and see if she starts. The last thing you want to do is restart the engine with that old oil in it from last season. Go ahead and bite the bullet, change both the engine oil as well as the outdrive fluid. Now that we've addressed the fuel and the oil and the lower unit gear oil, a couple other things you want to look at. Make sure that your timing belt is in good shape, no cracks or anything like that. The other thing you want to address is go ahead and replace your spark plugs if they were not replaced at the time when it was winterized. Now that we've done our four-stroke engine, let's take a peek at this little two-stroke to see what we need to address for it. Now there is no oil that needs to be changed on the power head on a two-stroke, but you will need to address the lower unit gear oil if it was not changed out when you winterized it. As far as the fuel system goes, you will need to look at the fuel water separator, make sure it was drained. Now, I can tell you on this one, I can see that it was not. So we need to pull that apart, check out the filter, see if it's still good to go, dump that mess out of there, and then we can move forward. If it was winterized properly, then it should be good to go. If it was not, well, you're going to need to take a peek at the carburetor to make sure it's not gummed up. Now, the last thing you want to check out is your spark plugs. Were they replaced at the end of last season? Good to go. Go ahead and fire it off. If not, now's the time to go ahead and replace them before you try to start it for the first time. All right, guys, there you have it. I've just gone over the very basics that you need to look at before you start up your outboard for the new season. Listen, if you need any parts for your boat, why don't you come see us at boats.net and we can get you taken care of. Like what you see, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you can keep up with whatever I'm working on next. We just want to say thank you for shopping here with us at boats.net, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a great day.